Hey guys, Travis Gillespie. Let's find the slope of some lines. I'm just going to throw this down here and probably give us some space on the screen too. Here's the first line I want to look at. It's a horizontal line and you need 2 points to determine slope. So the first point it looks like is -3, -2, and the second point is 4, -2. Well, you could actually do this visually. You could figure out the slope and say, hey, from this point right here, what is the change in y? Well, there is no change in y, so it's actually 0. You got 0 up here, 0 down here. And, well, the change in x, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So the change in x is going to be 7. So you know that you have, well, 0 over 7 equals 0, so the horizontal line is a 0 slope. Now you could do this a different way. You could actually calculate it out. If you think of the change in y and the change in x, and change, it really just means the difference. Let's take the difference of the y's and divide it by the differences of the x's. So starting here, the differences in the y's, well, that's -2 minus -2. And then for the change in the x, we'll start here again, 4 minus -3. And when you calculate this out, you actually get 0 over 7. Well, that's the same answer you had over here, so the slope is 0 still. Now you can see how to compute it algebraically if you want. So every horizontal line has a slope of 0 because the line's not going up, the line's not going down, it's just level. So all horizontal lines have slope 0. Let's take a look at another one here. You actually have a vertical line this time. And before we get started, I'm just going to move this over just a tad. Cool. So this time you have a vertical line. And the first thing I'm going to start here, let's actually just eyeball and say, hey, what's the change in y? Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's +5. Put a 5 down here. And then the second question is, hey, what's the change in x? Well, it doesn't deviate left or right at all. It just travels up to this point here. So x equals 0. So the change in x is 0, and, well, if you think about that, that's 5 over 0, and you can't divide by 0. This is undefined. Well, it turns out that whenever you have a vertical line, the slope is undefined because you cannot have you cannot divide by 0. So the change in x cannot equal 0, or you will have an undefined line, slope. Well, let's see if anything happens differently when I compute this. So let's start up here and say the change in y, so 4 minus -1 equals 5 over, starting here, 3 minus 3 equals 0. So I have 5 over 0 still. So, surprise, it turns out that whenever you have a vertical line, it will always have a slope that is undefined.